very much, Madam Chairperson. A very generous introduction. Very excited and very happy to be here this afternoon, despite the hot sun. I know I'll sweat profusely here trying to make my address here this afternoon. Blue Caps, this movement came around after we had, had some initial conversations. The conversation centered on leadership. We all concluded that in Guyana, there's a leadership deficit in both our private and our public sectors. In our private sector, you can see the manifestation of this. One of the primary reasons for the leadership deficit, some might want to attribute to migration, which has really taken on a lot of our skilled and professional workforce and have taken overseas. Only today I read that before coming here in the census, normally you see countries putting up barriers or erecting barriers and visas, people out. Everybody seems to want to leave, and I think the census showed a reduction in population, some close to some 4,000 people. In our public sector, I think the most glaring example would be our parliamentary environment in which the words compromise and accommodation seem not to even exist to some of our political leaders. For some, it seems almost as though even at that August level, it's just a game. At the community level, we talked about the lack of local government elections and the impact of those not having those government elections for the past 20 years. That has had on communities throughout our country. That's one of the reasons why when we got decided that we focus on initially, and we're not going to focus exclusively as we move forward on those government elections or the agitation for it. Eventually we will pronounce on all policy areas. But we decided to focus on that because the leadership deficit that that created at the community level very pronounced. Young people today can't see any opportunities in terms of leading their own communities because the way the system has been for the past 20 years, over that community level. So now everybody looks centrally, the central government level, if they want to effect change or look at the old leaders who've been there some 20 years or more. Another reason and rationale behind the formation of this group has been the resounding, I remember having many conversations, the resounding and definite silence by our young people when it comes to policy, both at the policy formation level and the policy articulation level. Every day you believe with all the issues that are happening, you believe only, I come from the private sector, I was very vocal when I headed the Chamber of Commerce. You believe the only voices existed at the political realm or at the private sector realm, and the young people in the country had nothing really to say their issues. We've seen many youth groups, many youth organizations spring up. Those organizations are almost boxed into a stereotype where you're expected to serve certain roles and certain functions. Public policy formulations seem not to be one of them. Our objective as a group is pretty simple and threefold. Firstly, we exist to develop and train leaders. Today, we're seeing the manifestation of one of those programs, which is the Building Communities Leadership Training and Service. Our second goal is to formulate, like I said, advocate public policy prescriptions, and thirdly, to undertake community service projects. One of our initiatives under the community service aspect is what we call youth experience in service. There's some of those who believe that policy making is only reserved for politicians. And if any group, any NGO, any civil society organization attempts to talk about policy, you're somehow engaging in a political act, or you're branded as a political organization, which is rather unfortunate because all over the world this is commonplace. Groups like this would spring up. It's normal course of history, of activity, But in Guyana, it seems as though when these groups spring up, you can do everything else
to advocate your cause, but don't advocate on the policy side of things. This program here today represents the conclusion of the BCLTS program. It's a 4-week program, and it will continue even after the end of today, and you'll see why later when the other presenters come up. But we had representation and participation from various youth organizations where we took some of the young leaders who were part of those organizations, including the Youth Action Network, the Coffee 250 Committee, the Global Shapers Guyana Group, SASOD or SASOD, I don't know, I always say this incorrectly, the Global Youth Movement, the Youth Ambassadors Program. We also had the Come Alive Network, the UNFPA Youth Advisory Group. We took the participants, we were aiming for 24, and we ended up, I think, with 30-something. And I think today we're graduating around 26 or 7 totally after 1 month. These guys formed themselves into groups, and they came up with some very creative names. One of the groups was called Pink Phoenix, sorry. I always say Pink Panther. The other group was called Youths Making a Difference, or YMAD, Why Mad. We had the Kasik Community Changers, or the CCC. And we had PACT, which is Purposeful Action Creates Change. I think that's, correct me if I'm wrong. But, God, I'm sweating terribly here. But I was blown away by the level of participation, the innovation, and some of the leadership skills that were demonstrated by the youth leaders who took part in the entire process over the past four weeks. It started out with classroom sessions, which lasted for the first weekend. Then the second weekend, we went into the 3 communities, the Rasville, Roxanne Burnham Gardens, and the Rasville, Roxanne Burnham, and East Rumbelt communities, and they did a survey the second week of over 200 households, where they literally went and they knocked on each door, and residents came out and answered those questionnaires that were presented. And they came back with the results of those surveys and articulated plan of actions to address some of the issues that the residents of those communities said were affecting them. In the coming weeks, our group, we intend to collaborate with the Guyana Police Force and the people of All Boys Town with the Project Impact All Boys Town. We will renew our efforts at LGE advocacy. We'll meet with GCOM. We'll start a dialogue initiative where we'll invite important stakeholders to communicate and talk with young people on issues. We'll also start a young professionals magazine and start also training in the New Amsterdam and the Upper Quarantine areas, similar to what we did here with the first BCLTS. None of this could have been possible. We've done everything set up. We've been set up informally for the past 3 months, and we've done so with little or no financial support. We've just used our creativity, and some of the members of our steering committee who are experts in almost every field, designing and different areas, and this heat is killing. I'll close. But I look forward to the support of those present here today, in both financial and technical, in supporting the work of Blue Caps. And I want to close here this afternoon by just imploring to the graduates here from the program, I want to implore them to go out and give more of themselves to the development of Guyana. I want them to go and dream impossible dreams that can change their communities, their country, and even more ambitious, the entire world. I'll leave here this afternoon as I take my seat with a quote from the author James Baldwin. And James is if you get a copy of his book, The Fire Next Time, he has a profound quote that I like to use, and he said, I know that what I'm asking is impossible. But in our time, as in every time, the impossible is the least that one can demand. For communities and country to grow, nothing less than the perpetual achievement of the impossible will suffice. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, and thank you very much.